How's it going, everyone? Josh Hayes here for ScoreStreak.com, and today I want to talk about how I turned $50 into $1,500 on ScoreStreak. So let's go ahead and get into it. Really quick background about how I got involved with ScoreStreak is started out in May of last year, where we ended up following each other on Twitter, traded a couple DMs back and forth and some emails. And they talked to me, they approached me, and they said, hey, we're a new daily fantasy site. We'd like you to check it out, see what you think. And if you're interested, maybe we could do a potential deal. We understand that you're a podcaster and a blogger, and so we'd like to potentially work something out. So I went ahead and checked out their site, registered, and they went ahead and threw $20 into the account for me to play with. And at the time, it was fantasy baseball, daily fantasy baseball going on. So once I checked out their site, I was like, oh, all right, nice. No salary cap. I got this. All right, no problem. So got in there, fired up a bunch of matchups. Boom, busto in no time. So I said, you know what I need to do? I need to take this a little bit more seriously here. I'm going to knuckle down just a little bit more, put some more effort into these lineups, and I ended up throwing another $50 into ScoreStreak. And I said, all right, I'm going to win or lose. I'm going to play every day, but I'm going to try to manage it bankroll-wise, so I'm not firing up the entire 50 every day. I'm going to try to grind my way up to a win. So it was tough for the first few weeks. I was going back and forth, win one, lose one, winning, losing, trying to manage and grind my way upward. And I figured out, you know what, I need to go back to what's made me successful, or, the thing that's worked for me my entire life. So in anything, daily fantasy sports, or any career that I've ever had, any job, going all the way back to high school, the one thing that I've always tried to do is to figure out who does whatever you're trying to do the best, who's the best person, who's number one, and copy off of them. Treat that as an apprenticeship, and figure out what they do, how they do it, and get yourself to their level. Do it as good as they do it. All right, and once you get to that level, then you can start thinking about how you can make it all better and advance forward there. So that's what I did. I took a look at all the people who were winning on ScoreStreak in my matchups, who were beating me, took a look at what they did with their lineup versus mine, and sort of tried to think into my head about what mistakes I made and how I needed to adjust, and I learned. And then I sort of came up with a general strategy for what I wanted to do for fantasy baseball on ScoreStreak, and that's when things started turning around there just a little bit. So, I mean, that's plain and simple for you right there. If you just wanted to figure out how you wanted to become a winning player, if you just applied that piece of advice that I just gave to you there, which is, take a look at the matchups, and every day, if you don't win in ScoreStreak, and figure out what the winners are doing. This is basically what I did. I went to the leaderboard, looked at who was winning on a consistent basis, or who had the most points, who had the most wins, and said, all right, these people must be doing something right. And you can do the same thing on ScoreStreak, and that'll probably take you quite a bit of a ways in order to get started there, if you want to win. The second thing I would suggest, which I also did in the beginning when I was trying to build up this bankroll on ScoreStreak, was to be choosy about your matchups. Now on ScoreStreak, you can do two things here. You can be the first one to start a game, like a cash game, and sit down and wait for somebody to play you heads up, or get into a 6-man matchup, or even now they have 3-man matchups there. Or what you can do is wait for people to sign up closer to game time and see who's playing. You can sort of like scout them out by clicking on their avatar and see how many wins they have, how many experience points, and you can decide if that's somebody you want to play. There's people who have a lot of experience, varying to all the way to people who are brand new to the site there. And obviously you probably have a better chance in the lower buy-ins with the people who are newer to the site, with them trying to figure out their own ScoreStreak strategy. So if you're trying to grind up a bankroll, you can be definitely choosy about who you play, who your matchups, and try to get yourself into the best possible situation to win. There's nothing wrong with that at all. At this point now, I'm at the point where I like to just play as many matchups as possible. So I'll sign up, I'll be the first one to sign up just to sort of get games started. But in the beginning, I was definitely trying to, be choosy and say, okay, hey, I know this guy is one of the top players. I don't necessarily need to jump in this matchup and play that player. So there's that. So for me now, going forward, the next step would be, all right, how am I going to take it further? How am I going to try to get up to the #1 spot in the leaderboard on ScoreStreak and sort of really advance my bankroll? And that was sort of, I needed to come up with a daily game plan. So I started basically doing the homework, which is take a look at the last night's matchup, figured out if you win or lost, and if there was adjustments that you needed to make versus the people who beat you, and sort of use that as your, like we said, your little cheat sheet, your little key to the test. And after that, start thinking about tomorrow's matchup as soon as possible. So once those games are over, I'm already looking at tomorrow's slate, like at 8, 9, 10 p.m. West Coast time, when all the games have wrapped up, and already sort of trying to formulate in my head who I want to play in those matchups for tomorrow and why. And then once I do that, I'll go back and sort of, start doing some research. You got to do a little bit of homework if you want to be successful here. So I'll start taking a look at some of these defensive matchups and some of the recent trends with the players that I want to use and decide whether they're trending in the right direction or not in order for me to use them. So there's that. And then the last thing I also did was, sort of build up like a community. There's the forums, there's Twitter, there's some awesome blogs that are very helpful that ScoreStreak makes available at scorestreak.com/advisor. Will help you set your lineups and make picks for throughout the week and for the free roll. And a lot of the this blog here that I vlog and blog that I host will actually end up appearing on there as well. So that can be helpful for you. But the key in that spot now is sort of how are you going to keep learning? How are you going to make yourself a better player? If you figure out a system and then it works and you're just going to stick to that and not evolve, then eventually you're going to get caught by some people who end up outworking you there. So for me now, I'm fully immersed in the DFS industry, along with all the podcasting and video hosting that I'm doing for Fantasy Baseball, Fantasy Hoops, Fantasy Football Insider, dailyfantasyadvisor.com, and with ScoreStreak, I'm also writing DFS for rotowire.com. So this is kind of like my life. It's sort of taken over here. You can also check out the DFS article that I write every Sunday on the NBA section for RotoWire. But yeah, if you're not getting better in terms of what's trending and what's happening in DFS, then you're getting worse, most likely. So that's a good piece of advice. And if you're sort of asking, okay, what should I do? How can I advance myself? If you just did nothing but basically check out all the articles on RotoGrinders and listen to their podcast, their live feed on YouTube or SiriusXM Fantasy, you'd be doing very well for yourself. I try to consume as much quality DFS content as possible, and there's tons of it there for sure. There's also some other sites and other blogs that I like to read, and Twitter accounts that I'll follow and read up on and check through. But RotoGrinders, to me, hands down, probably does it better than anybody else, and everybody else is basically hoping to live up to that level in my mind. All right, so that's how I got up to 50 to 1,500. It's actually a little bit more than 1,500 total now, 1,500 plus. I hope to make it more. Hopefully I make another video that says how I made it from $50 to 15,000. I hope I do that. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitter at FantasyHoopsPod. Don't forget to check out ScoreStreak on Twitter as well, at ScoreStreaker. And we'll see you when the NBA action resumes here in a few days. Can't wait. Good luck, everybody.